Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing a Breitling Superocean Chronograph 42 millimeters in stainless steel. This is an easy chronometer, chronograph, dive watch to wear. And yes, it is all three. It's a diver, it's a chronograph, it is a chronometer, and it's a wonderful value and very comfortable. 42 millimeters is a fairly universal men's sports complication size. So whereas some Breitlings of this era were a bit overpowering in size and stature on the wrist, this one's just right. Now the timepiece is 42 millimeters in diameter. It is a manageable 15.6 millimeters thick, so it'll fit underneath a jacket cuff. From lug to lug, the watch has a span of 51 millimeters, and you can see that the shape of the lugs matters because these lugs wrap down and around the wrist. The spacing between the lugs is a very versatile 20 millimeters, so if you want to accessorize, you will have an endless universe of options in that 20 millimeter size. Let's take the watch off my wrist and talk a little bit more about how it might fit yours. I can recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters circumference. You can see the latest Breitling Diver Pro strap. It has that sort of inverse fade where you have these large raised and relieved Breitling letters eventually becoming embossed and indentation. So it's an interesting progressive style that fades from the thick cut part of the strap down to the thinner and more pliant bottom portion, featuring angled apertures for the buckle so they don't gouge as easily and they hold more resolutely. Though the strap is thick, substantial, and highly tear resistant, you can see that inversion pattern of the text once again. Nevertheless, it is unbelievably pliant. For a vulcanized rubber strap as opposed to a gummy, this is incredibly soft, comfortable, and I have to say, given the big, boisterous, bulky, brutish image of Breitling, it's downright surprising how comfortable that strap is. The buckle is an interesting counterweighted piece. It's all of high polish as you would expect a Breitling buckle to be. A feature I happen to like is that there's a raised bridge between the two prongs, so you can see how the strap sits flush and flat once it's buckled on your wrist. It sits inside the buckle rather than underneath. A nice refinement. The case band is strong and simple. As I mentioned, nicely arced to wrap around the wrist, so it does have ergonomics in its favor. It's also quite simple. All of high polish, there's a break between the hoods of the lugs and the case flank, and that's pretty much it. Simple and strong. You can see the design continues on the crown side where you have true screw down pushers, screw down crown, and then angled shear guards for the crown. The bezel is a captive bezel, unidirectional rotating and featuring vulcanized rubber inlays to match the strap. You see these little screws? These are part of the captive bezel system. So the screws hold the bezel to the watch rather than being snapped on and potentially snapped off as you'll find on a Tag, a Rolex, or an Omega bezel. Here we have a system more like that used by Zinn of Germany. The captive bezel keeping the bezel resolutely on board until your watchmaker removes it. We'll hear the detent, listen to its action. It's chunky and pleasing. Line up that loomed pearl with the minute hand, and now you have an impromptu 0 to 60 minute timer, which is useful because the chronograph minutes, if you take note, only 30 minutes there, whereas you have 60 on the bezel. Now, the vulcanized rubber insert is more durable than an anodized aluminum insert, and back in this era, this is what Breitling was using, and it was a wonderful way of reducing the wear and tear on the bezel without incurring the fracture risk of a ceramic bezel insert. So you have these nice raised, relieved steel numerals and calibrations, and you can read them easily in high polish, and then you have the matte rubber to resist scratches, scuffs, and abrasions. It's a good match. You can also see there's a chimney or a metal ring separating the bezel from the crystal to protect the crystal from any shocks that might be incurred against the edge of the bezel. It's a smart system used by Breitling and almost no one else. Take a look at the dial. It has phenomenal depth. There is a flange outboard that acts as a ray-hot slope from the bezel to the dial base. The dial base is a matte granular blue, and as you can see, sunken sub-registers giving the eye another focal plane and creating some more nuance here. All applique indices, not printed. There's also an applique Breitling wing. You will note the watch 200 meters water resistant, a chronometer and a chronograph, and it is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. Underneath the case back, doing business as Breitling caliber 13, a Valjoux 7750, 25 joules automatic winding, 44-hour power reserve, 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate. It is a cam lateral clutch chronograph, COSC certified, almost indestructible, and it features both stop seconds and a quick set date, so you can set your watch precisely both to the second and to the calendar. This is an all-arounder for the wrist. Dive watches are the all-around watches. If you want one watch to do it all, from the office to the playground, from the boardroom to the boardwalk, the pool table to the actual pool, this is your watch. The Breitling Superocean Chronograph 42 in stainless steel. Breitling Superocean Chronograph by night.